So whenever you're solving an equation, you're undoing the steps. That means you're doing order of operations in reverse. So in order of operations, you know how multiply, divide comes before add, subtract? When you're undoing that, you're going to do the add, subtract, then the multiply, divide. The example I always bring up is socks and shoes. You put on your socks, you put on your shoes. But when you reverse the process, it's shoes first, then socks. Do you understand what I'm saying? Doing all the steps backwards, okay? So when you have a number out front of parentheses, you're going to need to distribute. We practiced this in unit 1 with simplifying. Like if I just gave you this half of the equal sign, like this half of the equation, we've done this already. What would that give you when you multiply a 2 through there? 2x, good. Minus 6. 2 times 3 is 6, good, equals 4. Don't lose the equal sign. All right, then what? You want the x by itself. You're doing the steps in reverse. So plus 6 to both sides. Good. This should be mostly review from last year. You want to write this down with me? In fact, you need to flip over the paper. You're not even on the same page as me. So that's going to give you 2x equals 10. Good. 4 plus 6 is 10. And then this is multiplying by 2. So we are going to divide by 2. Whatever's there, you're going to do the opposite because you want to undo it. So what's our final answer? 5. X equals 5. So let's look at the second one. For this, again, doing the steps in reverse order, you would subtract the 2 first. Do minus 2 from both sides. So that is going to give you 4/5 x, no panicking because it's a fraction, you're going to be okay, equals what? What do we have on the other side? 12, good. Please don't whistle. Now, whenever there's a fraction, you do the reciprocal. So what do I mean by reciprocal? Yeah, opposite way around, you're going to flip it over. So your reciprocal of 4/5 is 5/4. So I'm going to multiply 5/4 to both sides, and that's what's going to cancel it out. You're doing the opposite of what's there. Now, let me show you how to put that in the calculator. Share my screen. So you would type in 12 times 5/4, and it will give you your answer, 15. So this one, do you see how the x is on the right side instead of the left side? That's fine, doesn't really make a difference. What does this bar mean? Divide. So what's the opposite of divide? Multiply. So you're going to multiply both sides by 6. Whatever's there, you're trying to undo it. So you have to do the opposite. So over here, what would we have? We have -1 times 6. So good, -6 equals 5 plus x. And then what would be your last step? Subtract 5, good. The 5's being added, so you want to subtract. Now this is a little tricky because they're both negative. You can't always type this in the calculator, but I'm just going to throw it out there. -5 and -6 would give you -11, good. And I usually tell people to think of money. You owe someone $6 and then you owe them $5 more. Now you owe them $11. You're like more in debt. Go ahead.
Do we have to put the x on the left side?
No, you can leave it right like that.
All right.
But if it bothers you that the x is on the right side, you can certainly flip it around and write it that way too. It means the same thing. All right, good question. This one's a little bit longer, but that's okay. You did ones like this in unit 1. If I cover up this equals 19, you've done this before. It's simplifying, okay? We're going to distribute the 3. That will give you 3n plus what? 9, good. 3 times 3 gives you 9. Now be careful here. You're not distributing a 4. You're distributing a -4. So you multiply a -4 through there. So -4 times -2 is +8. Very good. And then -4 times n is -4n. And then you have your equals 19. Just don't lose that part. So that's the distributing. Now you have this whole long string of information. You have to put the like terms together. So what's going to go with the 3n? Good. Okay, so 3n minus 4n. Negative 1n. Or you could just put negative n. And then 9 plus 8 is 17. Again, you want to undo what's there. It's like the mystery number. Undo what's there. So what would be next? Subtract 17. You would get negative 1n equals 2. Very good. And you have one more step. Divide by the negative 1. And you get n equals negative 2. You were verbally with me there, but did you have it written down? Yes. Okay, good. Okay. Well, you know, saying it is good, but I want you to have it written down too, because when you take a test, you can't just say what the answers are. You're going to have to write them down. All right. DeAndre is going bowling with some friends. Oh, we've done this a bunch of times. $5 to rent a pair of shoes, $3 per game. How would we write that?
5 plus 3.
Good. 5 plus 3. And you can say N, X, whatever letter of the alphabet you want. I'm just going with X. Now it says he spent $11. So this is the new part. We've done that before. We're going to take this and make it equal 11. It really is. And then we're going to solve that. So again, you're undoing what's there. You would need to do what first? Subtract 5. So that would give you 3x equals 6. And then what's your last step? Divide by 3. So you're going to get x equals 2. Question? You need to write that one down. Like, I need to see work. Did it in your head, that's fine. But I can't grade what happened in your head. I can only grade what's written on the paper. Now, actually, technically, it should be 2 what? Like, when it's a word problem, you should have units in your answer. It's 2 what? Games. So he can play 2 games. 2 games, I feel, is enough for bowling. I feel like after 2 games, like, you'd probably be ready to go home anyway. Bowling's fun.
What if you're just
I just don't want to do more than 2 games. But I'm bad at bowling too, but it's still fun. All right. The area of the surface area of a swimming pool is 210 square feet. That means if you take this side times this side, it should equal 210. If you multiply them, you will get 210. So this side is 10. And we have to multiply, just put a blank parenthesis. We have to multiply that by this side. So, hey, kiddos, look. If this much is D and this much is 9, what is the whole thing worth? Well, we don't know what D is. So your answer is going to need to have D in it in some. 9 plus D. I'm going to write D plus 9 just because I like when the variable comes first. But you can write 9 plus D. It means the exact same thing. And then this is going to equal 210. Perfect. So we multiplied those together. This side was 10. This side was D plus 9. Multiply them together. Now, what do we need to do with the 10 since we have parentheses? Distribute. Good. So that would give you 10D plus, you need to open your eyes and put the pencil in your hand and write down what we're doing. That'll be 90. I gave clear instructions and I wasn't rude about it. It was just clear. All right, again, then you're trying to undo what's there. So what would be next? Minus 90, subtract 90. So 10D equals, what is that, 110? At 120? Did I do that wrong in my head? Sorry, 120. Still the morning. Not enough coffee. All right, and then last step, divide by 10. Always use Desmos anyway. You have a calculator. Good, and so D equals 12. What? When it's a word problem, you should put units. Feet. Yeah, the deep end is 12 feet, the shallow end is 9 feet. Well, it depends on how deep the deep end is. We'll do a couple more and then we'll do our break. Actually, let's do one more and then I'll give you a break, okay? So we have parentheses here, that means distributing. On this side, we're gonna distribute a 1/3. That just means divide by 3. So when you do 1/3 times 9, what you're really just doing is 9 divided by 3. Again, you can always use a calculator, but what's 9 divided by 3? 3. So that'll be 3K plus, and then when you distribute 1/3 times 3, what you're really doing is 3 divided by 3, which is 1. Good. Again, you can always use a calculator. And then here you're distributing not a 2, but a -2. So that'll be -2K. And then what? Good. Plus 16, negatives cancel. Now, this is the first one we did where there's a variable on both sides of the equal sign. When that happens, the first thing you have to do is get them together. Most people will always move the variable to the left. I really don't care which way you do. I'll probably usually move it to the left, but it doesn't matter. We're going to add the 2K over. And real quick, do you see how I lined it up with the Ks?
Yep.
A good portion of mathematics is more about organization than intelligence. It's really not about being smart because all you're doing is 2 plus 3. That's not that hard, okay? If you aren't organized, though, you're going to end up with number explosion everywhere, and it's going to just look like the alphabet threw up on your paper, okay? So just try to stay organized. So this is going to give you 5K plus 1 equals, what have we still got on this side? So again, if you have a variable on both sides, the first thing you have to do is move them together. All right, and then we're back to ones like we had on the other side of the paper. You're going to subtract 1. 5K equals 15. Divide by 5, and what's our final answer? K is 3. Okay, so for this one, we're going to have to do the translating. This is why we practiced this in Unit 1. Good job. 9 less than. Do you remember what happens when you see less than or more than? You switch the order. Perfect. Okay, so we want to do the 5 times a number first. So it'll be 5x. And you want 9 less than that. So -9. That's our 9 less than 5 times the number is. So that means equals twice. So we're going to have a 2. The sum. What does sum mean? Addition. And it means you're also going to need, it's good. Okay, so put parentheses. And what would go inside of there? You want the sum of a number and 6. X plus 6. Listen carefully, though. If you struggle with that part, first of all, that makes you normal. That's difficult. Make up an equation. I'm not kidding. Just literally invent something, solve it, and I can give you a point for solving the equation you made up, okay? Don't just leave it blank if you get stuck. So this 5x plus 9 is going to just have to, like, sit still for a second. Because what do we have to do on the other side?
It started with the
Distribute. Good. A lot of math, again, like I said, is staying organized, and a lot is recopying what you had before. It's called a copy error if you just copy something wrong, and those are a huge bummer. So try not to do a copy error. All right, so distributing, that would give us 2x plus 12. So once again, you have an x on both sides. The first thing you need to do is get them together. So what would you do to both sides? Yeah, -2x, and watch how I lined them up. Do you see how I have them lined up? Stay organized, okay? That's going to give you 3x minus 9 equals 12. And then you're kind of back to, like, this is a simpler one. What would you do to both sides now? Plus 9. So you'll have 3x equals 21. divide by 3. Now don't flip over immediately because with that blank space that's there, I'm going to give us another problem to practice that. 21 divided by 3 would give you 7, but you can always use a calculator. Put like a 8b here. I'm going to make up another one for us to practice. You can write it down. You'll be totally okay. I made an extra problem with the blank space that's there. Go ahead and write it down. I'm giving wait time for you to write that down. So maybe just look up here once you have it written down and I know that everybody's done. I just made up another one for us to practice. Are you using kind words? All right, when you see parentheses, that means you're going to need to distribute. So if you distribute the 5, what do you get? 5x. Hey guys, eyes up here. 5x minus 5 times 2? 10. Good. And then plus 3x. Remember me saying sometimes you just have to copy down what's there? It's just there. Just recopy it. You can complain about that if you want, but anyone can just recopy what's there. All right, and then on the other side, you're going to distribute the 2. So that'll be 2x plus 18. 2 times 9 gives you 18. You ended up with something that's about this long. If you get something that's really huge, what you probably need to do is like terms. Can you watch? I'm going to cover up this side of the equal sign. Just don't even look at that for a second. What are the like terms over here that can go together? 5x plus 3x. So putting those together would give you what? 8x. So you have 8x minus 10. This side needs to just sit still. It's just going to need to be patient. You just have to recopy what's there. Just don't do a copy error. Again, a lot of algebra, like math in general, is just rewriting what you have. All right, now what? We're going to subtract the 2x. Where should I write it on this side? My minus 2x. Under the 8x. Very good. You know what you're doing. You just got to stay focused. That's all. All right, so that's going to give us what? 6x minus 10 equals 18. And now we're back to a simpler kind of problem. So we'll add 10. So 6x equals 28. Divide 6. Now it didn't come out to a whole number. That's okay. We're going to reduce the fraction. We'll practice reducing. What do 28 and 6 both divide by? 2. They'll both divide by 2. I'm just going to write that. If you don't want to write that part, you don't have to. You can just do it mentally, but you're just going to divide them both by 2. So it'll be 14 over 3. And if you wanted to type 14 divided by 3 into a calculator, into your Desmos and get like a decimal, that's fine too. But it won't always be a whole number, and you don't need to be nervous if you get a fraction. That's a totally acceptable answer. Now, these last ones we're going to look at are your special cases. Do you see how there's an x on both sides? The first thing you would do is try to get them together. So you would subtract 3x, but what's going to happen? You don't got none anymore. I like that. So what you end up with is 7 equals -4. So kiddos, does 7 equal -4? Will 7 ever equal -4? So what that means you ended up with is no solution. And what that means is there is no number in existence that will make this thing true. Give me a number. That will not work. Give me another number. That won't work either. Give me another number. That won't work either. No number in the world is going to work, is what no solution means. Okay. Now let's try this one. We're again going to subtract our 3x from both sides. But again, they're gonna both cancel out. And so we get 9 equals 9. So that is true. And what that means is you get infinite solutions. That would work. Give me another one. That would work as well. What it means is every number in existence is going to make it true. Now I wrote, let's look at them on a Desmos graph. You don't have to write anything for this, but what I need for you to do is watch. I want you to see visually what's going on so that you can understand it. Look at number 9. Do you see how it was 3x plus 7? Do you see how it put a red line right here? That's the representation of that 3x plus 7. Now I'm going to put in the 3x minus 4. Do these ever touch?
No.
As an extension, do you remember what that's called when lines parallel? No solution. They are never, ever, 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 ever going to intersect. Okay. Now here's what the other one looks like. Ready? 3x plus 9. Do you see that green line there?
Yep.
Now if down here I put 3x plus 9, do you see how it landed right on top of the other line? Like they're literally on top of each other? That means they're intersecting everywhere. So that's what your infinite solutions look like. No, we won't do all these. I've kind of scribble these ones out. We won't do B. We'll just do the first one. We're going to figure out what the question mark needs to be to make it do what the directions are saying. So complete this so it has no solution. So think for a second, what would this question mark need to be to make it come out to no solution? Good. It would need to be 5x. We're figuring out what goes in place of the question mark to make it no solution. It would be 5x because look, if you subtracted the 5x, what do you end up with? 6 equals 10, which won't work. You'll get no solution. So 5x is what we needed to fill in for the question mark there. Now, this one, we want it to come out to infinite solutions. That's a little tougher. So I want you to think, what would the question mark need to be to make it come out infinite? So you would need a 5x minus 4. Why would it be 5x minus 4? Because if the 5x's cancel,
You'd have a minus 4 next to 10, which is minus 6.
good. So you would get 6 equals 6, which is true all the time. So the 5x minus 4 is what you would need to plug in. Very good. Nice job.